Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to be talking about sockets, which is a concept that allows us to attach different objects in the game to our player. So you can see in front of me, I have my main character. This is my player avatar, and I have connected a danger sign to my head. And there's lots of different sockets you can use. So every character has the same number of sockets and the same sockets, but it can be the head, the neck. We can go to the arm, shoulder, clavicle, spine, all sorts of different places, the legs, the hands. Yeah, basically everywhere on your body. And then when it's attached to that place, notice that it rotates and moves along with that part of the body. So we basically can connect some asset, some entity to our player, and then we can make it so that it's a part of them. And this is a really powerful feature of Crayta and something that you can have a lot of fun with because you can essentially dress your character up in different meshes and objects from the game. So let's have a look at how we go about doing that. The first thing to notice is that I have already done a little bit of scripting. So I'm in advanced mode here, and you can see that I've got this script called socket spawner, which is attached to my player. If I go to the player, you can see I've got this socket spawner. And I've got a template called socket thing. And basically, socket thing is just a mesh that's been turned into a template. There's nothing special about that at all. And the key line of code that we're looking for when we want to use a socket is this attach to. So line 20 here, we can see we've spawned an instance of that socket thing template on line 17. And then we've got hold of the player, which is what this script is connected to. So self get entity will get hold of that player. And then we've attached the object that we've spawned here to the player that we have got here. And we've specified what socket we want to attach it to. And you can see a list of sockets up here. Now you can find this list on the Discord. It's actually a pinned message in the Lua help channel, pinned by Adam O. And you can also find it in some of the packages in the community section. If you look for Gil's character fitting room, there's a really amazing package if you want to learn more about sockets. And in there, you can find all of the sockets listed as well. So for quick reference, if you needed it there, as you can see, there's quite a few different ones. And we can see that on this line of code here is attaching that danger sign, which is spawned here, to the character's head. And I can change this to be a different part of the body. Let's say I wanted to attach it to the clavicle, the right clavicle, and then run that, and we can see that the object is attached to the right clavicle. Another thing might be foot. Let's attach it to the left foot. Foot underscore L will be the left foot. And so now I'm running around and you can see it's attached to that foot at the bottom there. So that's essentially the crux of using sockets to attach things to our character. But you may notice there's something slightly afoot with the placement and the rotation of the entity. And that's something that we can take a look at now and see how we can make that make a little bit more sense, and then use this to do things like give our player a bulletproof vest and stuff like that. So let's get into that part of it. So to start with, let's take a look at the template that I've created at the moment, which is called socket thing. As you can see, it's just a simple mesh, and I've just right clicked that mesh, and then I've set created a new template from that. Now, a better way to create a template that we're going to be using sockets for is actually to start with a locator. So if I go over here to my library, click on the primitives tab, click on locator and add that to my scene. This is what will form the basis of something that we're going to be able to attach to our player. And so it's been added to floor grate. So I'm just going to unparent that and move it into the terrain. So it's part of the terrain. And I'm going to attach something to that locator that I want the player to wear. So in this situation, let's attach the bulletproof vest. I'm going to have to go to the meshes tab in the library, type in bullet, and there we go. There's my bulletproof vest. Drag that onto the locator. So we can see the bulletproof vest position and rotation is 0, 0, 0 because this is relative. to the locator. The locator's position is relative to the terrain because it's a child of the terrain object. So it's a position 3,500 on the x-axis, minus 125 on the y-axis, and 75 on the z-axis. The bulletproof vest is relative, the position of that is relative to the locator. So in this, this is position 0, 0, 0, rotation 0, 0, 0. So we're going to create a template from this locator, and then we will be able to move this bulletproof vest relative to that locator. So when we affix the locator to our player, we can have very much tweaked and customized the position and rotation of the bulletproof vest. So I'm going to click on this locator. I'm going to click template, create new template, and this is going to be called my bulletproof vest template. I'm going to click OK. That means that this locator is now a template. We can see the template in this templates tab over here. You can see the bulletproof vest template, and notice the symbol for this is the locator. It's not a mesh symbol or a voxel mesh symbol or anything like that. So we've created a template that we want to use. Now we can delete this locator. And if we want to edit this template in the future, we can use this drop down here, scroll down to the bulletproof vest template and click on that, and it will bring up the template and we can edit it from here. So now to change the thing that's spawned and connected to our player, the entity that's spawned and connected to our player, I'm going to click on the player, go down to this socket spawner script that I've written and change the item to the new template that I've just created, which was the bulletproof vest template. I could also do that in this drop down here. If I press F5 to test that, we can see that this has been attached to me. Now, when I try and move, it's doing something funny, and this is because the collisions are enabled on that mesh, which means it's pushing my player around as I'm trying to move. It's also the physics engine is pushing me around, and also its location and rotation aren't quite right, and also it's not on the right socket. So let's remedy those problems. Going back to the player. Okay, so we've got the bulletproof vest template, and I'm just going to go in here, click on the bulletproof vest itself, and then I'm going to uncheck collision enabled. That will mean that it's no longer hitting my player and causing my and pushing my player around the game world. So that's that problem solved. Let's just test that out. So now I'm moving around freely and I'm not being pushed around by the bulletproof vest that's attached to my head, which is fine. It's probably a bit better. The other thing we need to do is attach it to a different socket. So I'm going to go into my socket spawner, and I'm actually going to change this to one of these other ones. But I don't know exactly which one. Like, there's 5 different spine sockets. So which one of those might I need? Well, I think the first thing we might need to do before that is probably rotate the bulletproof vest so that it's a little bit more usable. So let's do that in the bulletproof vest template, go into the bulletproof vest. And because at the moment it's tilted on its side, that means that on the x-axis, it needs to rotate minus 90 degrees. It's a rotation 0 on the x-axis at the moment. And you can see that in the entity editor here. And if I want to make it rotate that way, or yeah, this is mirrored, isn't it? So that way, then that's minus 90 degrees. So I'm going to put in minus 90 here. And if I test that, we can see that now I have a bulletproof vest attached to my head. And this might be fine. This might be where you want to get to. But we can do more than this. Let's keep going. So going back to the socket spawner, let's change that from head to, let's try spine 5. Save that and run it. We can see that it's still not right. And I've actually created, as part of this script, I've added a function that enables me to skip through some of the different sockets that we have attached to our character. So we can see that looks quite close to what I want. And if I open the console, that is spine 1. So spine 1 is the lowest of the spines. So I think I'm going to change it to spine 1. So instead of spine 5, I'll just change that to spine 1. So I'm spawning this item here and storing the spawned item in this local variable called item. I'm then getting hold of the player, the character themselves, and storing that in a local variable player. And then I'm attaching the item to the player at the socket spine 1. And that's looking a lot better. I can tweak this even more just by going to the Bulletproof Vest template and maybe moving it down slightly. So maybe it needs to move down about 8 units. That's moved up. Let's make it move down by using minus numbers. -8 units. Okay, test that. And that's looking really tight now. That looks like a nice snug fit for my character. Looks like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest. So that's the basics behind using sockets. There's also some more stuff we can look at with this, where we can start playing around with something called grips, which is moves our character into position as if they're actually holding something like a rifle or a pistol. There's lots of different grips we can use there. So let me know if you want me to create a tutorial about grips and some of the actions and animations to do with those. And I really look forward to seeing what you do with sockets in Crayta.